In this video, we're going to talk about the three native vowel sounds in Hiligaynon. So what are these three native vowel sounds? These are A, I, U. Again, A, I, U. The A is sounded like the A in father, whereas I is sounded like the I in him, and U is the shorter version of the OO in the word pool. Notice that pool has a longer U sound compared to the native Hiligaynon U, which is a lot shorter. We will have some more examples later to demonstrate this sound. Again, A, I, U, A, I, U. To practice the Hiligaynon A, let's translate these English words into Hiligaynon. The first one here is morning, which translates as aga into Hiligaynon. The stress falls on the first syllable, so I'm going to write the stress mark on top of the first A. Here we go. So we say aga, aga. Notice that the stressed syllable sounds longer than the unstressed syllable. So since A is our stressed syllable here, it sounds longer than the second A. Aga, aga, aga. That's how it works. Now let's translate the second expression here to go after someone, which translates as lagas into Hiligaynon. Lagas, lagas. The stress falls on the second syllable, making the second A sound longer than the first A. Lagas, lagas, lagas. The third word here is milk, which is gatas in Hiligaynon. Gatas, gatas. The stress here falls on the first syllable, making the first A sound longer than the second one. So we say gatas, gatas, gatas. The next word here is to lift, which in Hiligaynon is alza, alza, alza. The stress is on the first syllable, making the first A sound longer than the second one. So we say alza, alza, alza. The last word here, to read, translates as basa into Hiligaynon. Basa, basa. The stress is also on the first syllable, making the first A sound longer than the second A. So we say basa, basa. Now let's take a recap from the top. You may repeat after me if you want to. Aga, aga, lagas, lagas, gatas, gatas, alza, alza, basa, basa. Now let's practice the vowel E by translating these English words into Hiligaynon. The first one here is to flow, which translates as ilig, ilig into Hiligaynon. The stress here falls on the first syllable, so here's the stress mark. Ilig, ilig. Ilig. Since the first E is stressed, it sounds longer than the unstressed second E. Take a listen again. Ilig, ilig. The second word we're going to translate here is to sweep, which is in Hiligaynon, silhig, silhig, silhig. The stress is on the first syllable, making the first E longer than the second E. So we say silhig, silhig, silhig. The next word here to change translates into ilis, ilis, ilis. As you can hear, the stress falls on the first syllable, making the first E longer than the second E. Ilis, ilis, ilis. The next word here, no or not, translates into indi, indi, indi. The stress also falls on the first syllable, making the first E longer than the second one. So we say indi, 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 indi. The last one here is foot or Hiligaynon. We say tiil, tiil, tiil. The stress falls on the second syllable, making the second E longer than the first E. Again, we say tiil, tiil, tiil. Let's take a recap from the top. You may repeat after me if you want to. Ilig, ilig, silhig, silhig, ilis, ilis, indi, indi, tiil, tiil. Now let's practice the Hiligaynon vowel U by translating these English words into Hiligaynon. The first word we're going to translate is to memorize, or in Hiligaynon we say sa ulo, sa ulo, sa ulo. This word has three syllables. Sa, u, lo. Sa ulo. The stress falls on the second syllable, which is our first U sound. Sa ulo, sa ulo. Since this U sound is stressed, it sounds longer than the unstressed U. Take a listen again. Sa ulo, sa ulo, sa ulo. The second word we're going to translate here is the word, which in Hiligaynon could be ulong, ulong, ulong. The stress falls on the first syllable or also our first U sound, which makes it sound longer. So we say ulong, ulong, ulong. The next word here is to unite, or in Hiligaynon, we say hugbong, hugbong, hugbong. The stress falls on the first U sound, making it sound longer than the second U sound. So we get hugbong, hugbong, hugbong. The next word we're going to translate is to shiver, or kurog, kurog, kurog. The stress falls on the first syllable, making the first U sound longer than the second U sound. So we get kurog, kurog, kurog. The last word we're going to translate here is fire. But fire in this case does not mean the flame on your gas stove, but rather conflagration. Conflagration or fire in Hiligaynon is sunog, sunog, sunog. The stress falls on the first syllable, making u in this syllable longer than the u in the final syllable. So you say sunog, sunog, sunog. Let's take a recap from the top. You may repeat after me if you want to. Sa ulo, sa ulo, ulong, 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 hugpong, 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 kurog, kurog, sunog, sunog, sunog. In the next video, we're going to talk about the two non-native vowel sounds in Hiligaynon, which are e and o. E, o. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.